do as much as you can while getting paid by someone else, because you'll learn so much.
There was a lot of years like being an entrepreneur that, you eat shit for a long time.
My journey to this point has been riddled with failures.
You're listening to E-Commerce Uncensored with Kevin Manel and Jason Caruso.
Hey everyone, and thanks for joining us on another episode of E-Commerce Uncensored. This is episode number 211. My name's Kevin Manel, and I'm here with
Jason Caruso.
Today we're joined with Kyle Bergman, he's a really great guy. I mean, I thought we connected really well with him. He's done a lot. I mean, he's still very young, and he's done a lot more than I've done, for sure. He's studied a lot more than I have. He's
like your stereotypical, startup dude. You know what I mean? Like he is in it. He's really in it, and you just get that vibe from him. Is like he's like a startup guy, just like a really nice, down to earth guy. And what I really like about him, Kevin, is like most of these people that come on our podcast, it amazes me how they come on with a sense of they want to absorb as much as they can from our conversation as well. Like you see these like high performers, and they're always open to learning.
Yeah, I think that's typical entrepreneur stuff. I mean, everything you try to. Again, I'm going to talk about Grant Cardone because I'm in the middle of this book. He's talking about like how many people read all these success people, how many books they read a year, like 60 books a year. And even if it's a shitty book, he's like, I've read a shitty book, but I take like one paragraph out of that. That's going to make me $1 million. And I think that's the mindset you have to have. Like every podcast you listen to, whether it's seems like a shitty interview to you or not, or a conversation that you have with somebody, whether it's not really going that well, there's something in there that you can learn from. And I think that's the kind of mindset he has. He's just going to continue to do that. And he seems like he's a hustler. He was off to doing something else right after he was on with us. He was probably doing something right before we got on. So great guy and a very interesting story. So he created these Swoveralls, which are like a combination of sweatpants and overalls.
Yeah. And before we get into that, Kev.
Yes.
The Facebook ads course, we were wondering, we stopped getting people coming into the course. And we didn't know why. And then we got an email from someone saying that they couldn't buy it. So we fixed it, and then sales started coming in again. So if you are struggling with Facebook ads, you need to get in this course called The Truth About Facebook Ads. If you go to ecommerceuncensored.com/truth, we've lowered the price a little bit. We were playing around with pricing, and we found that the price point that it is at right now probably makes most sense for everybody. There is a ton of value in there. So I would.
You just updated it too a little bit, right?
I just updated it, just recorded a couple new videos in there. I just, I wanted to change things around a little bit. The first video was a little bit long, so I just chopped it down a little bit. But yeah, go check it out. ecommerceuncensored.com/truth.
Yeah, and it's the truth because it's like it's what everyone's not telling you. They're telling you everything but this.
Right. And that's exactly how I teach it is like,
right.
Going from, when you and I used to dabble in Facebook ads for our clients, and like, we would like hit on something, we really wouldn't know why. And then we finally hit on our own stuff. And like, now we know, oh, okay, this is really how it works. Not all this crap that people talk about. So go check it out.
Yeah. ecommerceuncensored.com/truth. And here is our interview with Kyle Bergman of Swoveralls and Sweat from Home. Hey, Kyle, thank you so much for joining us today. How you doing?
I am doing well, Kevin. Thank you so much for having me. Happy to be here.
So great to have you. So I did listen to some podcasts. I read some things up on you, and it seems like you've done a whole ton of shit to get where you are today. So why don't you just give us a little bit of backstory, like even before Swoveralls was even a thing? Like, what's your background? Where did you come from?
Okay, I'll try and make this quick and try and not sound obnoxious when saying it, all of these things. So I've been pretty fortunate to have an exciting life in a lot of ways. Was born in New York City and retail is in my blood. My mom has had a long, successful career in retail. And as a result, I moved around a lot growing up, kind of like a military brat, but the retail version. Grew up in just outside New York, and then grew up in Canada a little bit as well. Played lacrosse in college, studied psychology, started out as a business major, didn't know what I wanted to do, switched to psychology because I was interested in consumer behavior and how the brain works with drugs, sex, alcohol, all those things. And after school, still not knowing what I wanted to do, I followed in my mom's footsteps and actually applied and was accepted to the Bloomingdale's executive training program, where I grew up there for 4 years learning about merchandise and planning, strategy. After 4 years at Bloomingdale's, I went to Birchbox, where I was the senior men's grooming buyer, part of their that incredible startup that kind of pioneered the subscription service, and went to business school at NYU. Around that time is when Swoveralls started. Swoveralls was my second business, started one in college, and then more recently started my third venture, born out of the pandemic, a virtual group fitness experience that can happen from wherever you are. Currently teach a supply chain management class at NYU, selling sweatpant overalls, selling sweat. And man, I probably give myself a C+ on that summary, but that's kind of a little bit about me in a nutshell.
Well, that summary just made me feel like I should not be in business for myself. I mean, it's interesting, man. Like, I don't know how much you know about Kevin and I, but we own a digital marketing agency. We have this podcast, and we own our own brand as well, like a digital magazine. And man, I'm like, I have no business being in business after listening to that at all. So I feel a little small right now. Kevin, how do you feel, buddy?
Well, it's funny because he said part of your story was like, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but it seemed like almost every step that you took kind of you started out in the psychology, right, to learn behaviors, which is a huge part of where you're at with your customers, right? Then you went to, you did this business school thing. Then you were in retail and corporate retail, which I assume I've never been in corporate America. Jason has told me some horror stories about being in corporate America, but I'm sure a big part of that, pushed you to go out on your own. Do you think that's accurate?
No, he's breaking up.
Yeah, one of the things that I think I've maybe been really, really good at, or at least subconsciously good at it, is hedging. And from an early time in my career, I was unsure of what I wanted to do, but always putting myself in an opportunity where I could learn. Almost like one of my sayings is like, well, if I'm willing to put in the time and the effort, it couldn't hurt. So like getting an MBA from NYU, took out a shit ton of business school loans and studied night classes, and like it sucked in a lot of ways, but I also met a lot of really smart people, and it set me up from a networking standpoint with experiences that have continued to pay dividends. Same thing goes with Bloomingdale's and Birchbox. Like working a 9 to 5. I mean, Kevin, you're not missing a lot, but there were skill sets that I developed there that continue to help me to this day. Like knowing how to conduct myself in a professional meeting, knowing how to speak to numbers, or more importantly, spin numbers to your benefit, knowing how to use a pivot table in Excel, like those types of things I learned while being paid by other people. And so when I teach entrepreneurship now, and I speak to young starters and founders, I say, do as much as you can while getting paid by someone else, because you'll learn so much, and it can continue to kind of reap the rewards of that over time.
Yeah, that's interesting. I kind of take the other end of that. Like I hate working for people, and I can't, that structure, it drives me crazy. Like to a point where, when my wife and I first got married, like a friend of mine, who we're not quite friends anymore, but he basically told her mom that like I couldn't keep a job, and at the time I felt really like shit, like that I couldn't keep a job, but like I just didn't realize that I was an entrepreneur, and I didn't realize that like I would much rather work 80 hours for myself than 40 hours from somebody else. And so I'm like on the complete opposite side of that. Although what you're saying makes a lot of sense, I just couldn't do it. Like I just couldn't do it. So
yeah, no, and I love that you share that, because a lot of people, they might not be on that opposite side of the spectrum where it's difficult for them to maintain a job. But if you're constantly being told to stay in your lane or focus on just what your job responsibilities are in the job description posted on wherever, then and if you're always talking to other people, if you're always raising your hand for other things, if you want to find out what's happening in the people department or in the finance department, but you're in marketing, then yeah, you're probably an entrepreneur too, because you like to work in a really dynamic environment and just get shit done, not just focus on what you have to do, but focus on everything.
Yeah, there was a lot of years like being an entrepreneur that you eat shit for a long time. Like it's really difficult and you feel like you can't swim. And like so, I remember guys that work with me would be like, just with your skill set, with everything you can do, why don't you just go get a job and have somebody pay for you? And it on the surface, you'd be like, yeah, like I'll have less responsibilities. Like, I could just collect a paycheck and it'll just be so much less stress. But then you're like, wait, I'm going to be at my job. They're going to tell me what to do. And I'd be like, yeah, that's not right. I don't think we should do it this way. And then from what Jason tells me about like the speed of things, how things work in the corporate America, where
I mean, slow, how slow they are. They're not, there's no speed at all.
The speed. So I was going to reference how slow it is to get from an idea to actually execution is just like, my mind just drives me nuts to think that like in our position for Jason and I specifically, that's our experience is like when we have an idea, by the end of the week, we can execute it, if not the next day. So that's what kind of drives me to like have our own things just constantly going.
Yeah, I can relate to that for sure. A lot of like any mild success that I've had with the ventures that I've worked on have been driven. I think the foundation has been driven to an extent by frustration. Frustration on a couple different levels. One, not being able to move as fast as I want to within a bigger company. Frustration from an availability standpoint. I mean, I created Swoveralls because I just wanted a pair of sweatpant overalls and they didn't exist. So I was pissed. And so I made sweatpant overalls. I mean, Sweat from Home, the virtual fitness brand that I started a year ago, and now we have 12 coaches, 19 people working with me to build what we're considering a competitor to Peloton. I started that because I got laid off from my part-time fitness gigs due to the pandemic. So everything that is born out of like this fire of being pissed off.
Yeah, and there's also like, I think different types of entrepreneurs, right? You come off to me, you're a very, very smart guy. You did the NYU thing. You worked for all these big companies. Like you're going to create like the next big thing, right? That changes the world. But like, there's guys like us that like, we're just gritty, right? And we'll make $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 a year, more than we could ever make it in working for someone. But we're just not gonna like, we don't have the brain or we don't have the structure to do the next big, huge, change the world thing. It just depends on what you want. For me, I don't want that anyway. Like, I just want to be able to wake up, come to my desk, work for a few hours. I want to get up, hang out like my kids outside, come back. I'm not looking to create the next big startup. I don't care about that. I want to support my family, pay my bills. And I think it just depends. We just sent out an email the other day, Kyle. We did like, I don't know, $20,000 in 2 days. I mean, like, it just blows my mind how we can do that. As like two guys, Kevin and I, we just are not that smart of guys,
Hey, speak for yourself.
Yeah. Okay. But it just, there's just two different, and I want people listening to this to like understand that like, you don't have to fit into a specific mold or you gotta find your own path. And there's a lot of different ways to do it, and I'm pretty confident, Kai, that we're going to see you somewhere big at some point. And I can promise you're not going to see Kevin and I somewhere big. We're going to just
on a beach somewhere, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, I hope I'm right there next to you guys with the umbrella and our drink and everything. Jason, I appreciate the warm words. I mean, if people are listening to this and like my journey to this point has been riddled with failures, and it's just, I consider myself not smart at all. I'm more like the dog that can't help itself from biting the wheel of the FedEx truck, because like one of the biggest failures and a big inflection point in my life for me was when I applied to business school. I didn't get in the first time I applied. And up until that point in my life, I had a lot of success with those types of experiences. For example, I was lucky enough to get a scholarship and play Division I lacrosse. I don't think I ever filled out a college application. Like the coach just said, "Hey, we want you. Like you're just come. Like so, filling out like writing essays and stuff. I was like, oh, I'll just tell them how great I am, and they're like, there was this level of ego, and so, and I told everyone I was applying to NYU. I took the GMAT. Like I didn't do great, and I'm like, I'm just gonna. And then when I didn't get in, and people are saying, "How'd it go? Like, when are you starting?" That was huge for me because I was so embarrassed. I was so upset. But beneath that was this level of excitement. Like I put myself out there. I risked it all, and this is what failure felt like. I wasn't scared of that anymore. And so since then, like going on Shark Tank, get all the sharks telling me to kindly go fuck myself. So excuse me if I can't say that on the, so like with Sweat from Home, like every day we're trying new things, and it's that almost stupidity to continue to just go and test is what is just everything. It's my ethos now.
A buddy of mine, I have a lot of, like Kevin knows, like I have a lot of like self-made multi-million dollar friends that are entrepreneurs. Like a lot of them are in real estate, other guys own construction companies. So I've been around like really successful people. And, for me, it's always been like freedom. That's what I'm looking for. It's not always the money. It's just, I want to be free. But my buddy, he said to me once, he says, Jason, he's like, you cannot teach experience. And doesn't matter how smart you are. Doesn't matter what school you went to. Doesn't matter, all of us, me, you, Kevin, we all failed like our fair share. And you finally at some point just figure it out. And it's hard to explain, but it's so true. Like you can't teach experience. Like you couldn't go to Harvard and then come out and say like, okay, guys, I'm ready to so, it's so true. Like there's so many different paths, I think to get here, but what really impresses me about you is that, you have several things that are doing quite well, right? I mean, it's not just one thing. It's like you have two or three things, which is to me is impressive because the amount of work that goes into those things to make them successful, most people don't really get.
Well, I actually, before we go any further, I just wanted to see if we can, speaking of that journey, like I was hoping that we could go back a little bit for the Swoveralls story, because I heard you mention that, you lost your part-time job from COVID, but you also have this Swoverall company that you built from nothing. How did that end up? You had a part-time job at a fitness place?
Just ignore my question and go to his.
Well, you didn't have a question. We're talking about the journey. We're talking about the journey from Swoveralls. I'm just curious because I know you're going to skip ahead and talk about his other businesses. Before we get to that point, I'd like to hear the Swoverall stories and how that actually got started, and how. So you had a part-time job while you were building this company?
Yes. So if we go back to 2017. A couple exciting things were happening in my life at that point. I had one foot out the door at Bloomingdale's and was going to go to Birchbox. Part of the reason I was leaving Bloomingdale's is because I was being told to stay in my lane, wasn't moving fast enough. I was frustrated. One of my friends was at Birchbox, flatter organization, startup culture. I was going to be given the keys to like the men's department and just go and make shit happen. Also at that time, a friend of mine at Bloomingdale's shared a BuzzFeed article with me about sweatpant overalls, except they look like denim overalls, but they were made of like jegging material. I've always loved overalls my entire life. I don't know why. That's probably another podcast for another time. We're gonna have to sit me down on a couch, ask me about my relationship to like my dad or something. But I loved the idea of this BuzzFeed article. Googled sweatpant overalls, didn't find anything. So just fast forward a few months, I just started Birchbox. I also just start going to business school at NYU part-time at the beginning. One of my professors teaches me about this really cool tool that Google has called the Keyword Search Planner, where you can see what the search volume is for any keyword during any given time. I, in the middle of class, type in sweatpant overalls, and that's when my personal problem becomes a business opportunity because I discovered that around 500 people a month are also looking for sweatpant overalls just like me. And just like me, their search is coming up in vain. So I also am learning about Amazon's fulfillment by Amazon technology, where you can have all the inventory housed in an Amazon warehouse. Everything's Prime eligible. They handle returns. And I find a supplier through Alibaba in mainland China that has like a drawing of what looks like sweatpant overalls. I reach out to them through Alibaba's messaging portal and say, hey, based on my experience at Birchbox and Bloomingdale's. So Kevin, you were talking about experience. Jason, you were talking about how important experience is. I knew, because I used to be a buyer, that if I bluff and say, I'm looking at placing a big order, I need a sample, I would get a sample. And, maybe that would be the end of the story. I got the sample. They were so freaking cool and soft and awesome that I ordered like 500 pairs. Now, how I got the money for the first 500 pairs, took out business school loans to pay for business school, still have like 150 grand out, whatever. My first semester at NYU, I signed up for too many credits. I've always been like a B student, so that was weird to begin with.
I feel like there's a scam coming. I feel like
Yeah. So I took some of the classes off, and I got about $10,000 dispersed to my personal checking account that was business school loans that should have gone back to Uncle Sam. And instead I sent that to China. And that's what paid for the first order. Now, Swoveralls is happening. I'm at Birchbox. A friend of mine introduced me to Orange Theory Fitness. I playing in college, lifting hundreds of pounds, bench pressing, deadlift, hang cleans. I wasn't trying to kill myself after school. Orange Theory was a very sustainable group fitness workout that I enjoyed doing. It was expensive though, living in the city. They were opening up a new studio and looking for coaches. Based on my athletic background, I said, hey, I'll coach here and I'll be able to work out for free. And so I started coaching at Orange Theory in like 2017. So a typical day in my life in 2017, 2018, 2019, I get up at 5 a.m. I teach an Orange Theory class. I go to Birchbox. I work 9 to 5. And then I'm going to night school at NYU. And that was when I conditioned myself to like work at a level that I think most people just aren't aware of or able to. And I've kept that tenacity going. So still working at Orange Theory. I love working out. I love acquiring endorphins, and being able to help other people achieve their fitness goals is a pretty cool feeling too. So continued working at Orange Theory. It was great side hustle money, was focusing on Swoveralls. And I also started teaching at Flywheel, which is a spin studio in the city as well. Well, Orange Theory and Flywheel both laid me off last March. One of my colleagues at Orange Theory, who's now my co-founder at Sweat From Home, unbeknownst to me, has always wanted to start a business with me, saw what I was doing with Swoverall, saw that I was at NYU. When we got laid off, minutes after we got the email, he texted me and said, what business are we starting? And that's where Sweat From Home was born. So I took all of this experience that I had from corporate, all this experience that I had from building Swoveralls, and applied it to this new business that now is a year old. We raised a small round of funding in January. And yeah, we're looking to go after the big guys in the digital fitness game.
Yeah, that's awesome. And when you said you got laid off, it like makes me cringe. And that's part of why I always felt like I couldn't put my future and my family's future in someone else's hands. Like one day you're just a number and they just say like, okay, you're done. And it's like, that's where I like draw the lines, so to speak. So I know I keep going back to that, but it just, when you said that, I just cringed. So okay. So you have, how many businesses do you have right now? 3?
2, Sweat From Home and Swoveralls. And in addition to both of those, I'm currently an adjunct professor at NYU teaching a supply chain management class.
Of course you are. Just
Not
one
quite
class. I mean, is that enough? I mean,
hey, we meet twice a week for an hour and 50 minutes. The kids are all, when we talk about smarts, these kids are all way smarter than me. They're undergraduates at the Tandon School of Engineering at NYU. So really, really impressive cohort. And I just, we talk about sweat and sweatpants.
Well, we're looking for somebody to join our team to be marketing. Are you interested in another part-time job?
Yeah, right.
Well,
So
I have a hard time saying no to things if you couldn't tell. So
yeah.
don't tease me, Kevin.
That's another thing. I'm where Jason and I are listening. Have you heard of Grant Cardone? Do you know who Grant Cardone is?
Yeah,
The
yeah,
10X
yeah.
rule. We're
10X
listening
rule.
to him, and his. I'm in the part where he's basically like, yeah, just say yes to everything, and then you figure it out later.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's,
okay. Yeah,
seems like your mentality. Totally.
That's what you're
Yeah,
doing. You know,
exactly.
I'm a yes man. He says, I say yes to everything. Now he doesn't, but when he was coming up, he did.
Mhm.
So Swoveralls is obviously an e-commerce brand. What's interesting to Kevin and I is that this originally was an e-commerce podcast. We have clients who have big, e-commerce brand, like we have 40-50 million dollar companies. We have, $10 million companies that we work with. We have our own brand does 2 million. And so, but what's interesting is that people who listen to this podcast, the way they think of e-commerce and the way that we thought of e-commerce when we started this are two different things. So you would think that Swoveralls is actually a really good fit for this podcast, but truth is like any info product, any really anything that you sell on the internet, we have people listening. So can we talk about the way you're marketing both of these brands? Is it the same? Is it different? How does that go? Because we always get people who want to know, like, Facebook ads, YouTube ads, email, blah blah blah. What does the marketing look for? Let's start with Swoveralls, because I think that is, in my mind, a little bit tighter, I guess, the subject for the podcast.
Yeah. So I love this question because this is something that I'm living and breathing every day, and both of them could not be more different. And it's been a huge learning for Sweat from Home. So with Swoveralls, last year was very bittersweet because it was our best year ever amidst the pandemic. We did just under $1 million, which was crazy. I mean, I still own 100% of the company, and part of the reason we haven't done more is because we're bootstrapped. And so it's very difficult when you have payment terms and lead times with suppliers to always have inventory, as much inventory as you need when you need it. Luckily, last year, got another loan from Uncle Sam. This time it was more legitimate, the economic injury disaster loan. Took that and bought a shit ton of fabric and was able to sell through it. And now we're just rinsing and repeating. From a digital marketing standpoint, Facebook and Instagram ads do really, really well for Swoveralls. I mean, it's a very polarizing product. We have fun creative that we're all making in Canva, which I think I pay like $12.95 a month for. I am self-taught in Photoshop and Adobe Premiere, so I do a lot of it myself. I do have contractors that help me from a Google ads and Facebook ads standpoint. So they're doing all the tactical work, but our return on ad spend, our ROAS, for the tie-dye Swoveralls that we're launching right now is somewhere between 6 and 19x. It's just stupid. It's stupid. And I, a little ignorantly thought that I would see the same return with Sweat from Home. Another really important part of Swoveralls is our email marketing. We work with a provider called Retention Science, very similar to like a Klaviyo or a MailChimp. We have really thoughtful drip series depending on your behavior on site, cart abandon, browse abandon. So we're doing all the things. We've also had really successful SMS text campaigns. We sent out a text last Friday. Hey, we just launched tie-dye for pre-order. And we did like 10 grand through one text. And it's just a subscriber base of like 4,000 phone numbers. So a lot of really cool tools. And look, I mean, Swoveralls is turning 4. So it didn't happen overnight. Now, the irony is the thing that keeps me up at night with Swoveralls is inventory. Having enough money, having enough inventory. Part of the reason we do these pre-order campaigns is to get ahead from a cash flow standpoint. And so if you go on swoveralls.com, you'll see we have an area of our site called the Comfy Lab. The Comfy Lab is no different from Kickstarter. If we reach the funding goal, we will make those products. So it's allowing us to mitigate inventory risk and hedge against demand. For Sweat from Home, inventory is theoretically limitless. Like we're offering a service. We're offering people to come in and take a workout. So I thought, let's make some ads, let's throw them on Facebook and Instagram, doesn't work, does not work. And also from a unit economic standpoint, we charge $10 a class. So if we're spending $10 on an ad and we get someone to purchase a Swoveralls, amazing. Those are $95 product. But like, what's to purchase a $10 class, and what's the life cycle look like? When does that person upgrade to a 10-pack? When does that person upgrade to an unlimited membership? Like, what's the email drip series look like? These are all things that are very difficult to cobble together. One of the missing pieces right now in this space is that there isn't a Shopify for like fitness booking platforms. There's a lot of available providers, but there's an arms race right now to create what would be like an intuitive platform that creators and brand builders in the fitness space can use to help monetize their experience.
So what do you use
Yes.
now for that? What platform do you use to make that work?
So we're using something called Dibs. Dibs is the booking platform, very similar to Shopify. You would never see like Dibs branding or anything anywhere, but if you were to go to sweatfh.com and create an account and book a class, that would all be done on Dibs.
Yeah, I mean, there is definitely a distinction between marketing the two brands for sure. I mean, number one, a physical product is a little bit more self-explanatory, and there's no real relationship that needs to be created between you and the customer for them to want the overalls. I mean, the truth is like, when you see it, it's really cool. You're like, it's like an impulse buy. Like, shit, I want it. Boom, I'm gonna buy it, right?
Yep.
Whereas when you're talking about workout classes, I guess essentially from home, I mean, there's thousands and thousands of people that do that, right? So, you got to bring them into your world first and then try to get them to buy on the back end, right? It's just two different ways of going about this. Kevin and I have a client right now that we helped go from 1.5 million to 10 million in like, was it 2 years, Kev?
Yeah, just about.
And that's a physical product. And the return on ad spend for them is between 8 and 30x, Kev, on retargets, I guess.
Yeah, it can be really high. Yeah.
Yeah. But then like we have this digital wildlife photography magazine that we can hardly get like a 1x or more return because it's a little bit of a different sell, right? Like we bring them into our world. So we do a little bit more of lead gen with that brand, and then like email every single day, maybe sometimes multiple times a day. Where the other one is like, it's a little bit easier because it's a physical product that people can just see and you can demonstrate. So it completely makes sense to me.
Well, with a digital product and still being relatively new, like under a year or just about a year old, right, Kyle? And you really don't know what your lifetime value is, your customer yet. I mean, that $10 acquisition could be worth $100 or $200 in the next few years. So you need that kind of history in order
That
to really
data,
make good decisions.
Yeah. And we, from the positives that we're seeing right now within our business is that we have really strong retention. So once we get people in, they love taking class with us. And to take a step back and talk about what exactly Sweat From Home is providing and why we're different from what's out there, is Sweat From Home is specializing in two-way live group fitness classes. Two-way meaning that when you come into a workout with us, the coach is going to see you, greet you by name, and over the course of the workout, provide proper form cue and positive encouragement. So very similar to maybe the experience that you would get at a Barry's boot camp or an Orange Theory in person, we're able to provide from the convenience of wherever you are. Peloton, Mirror, Tonal, these big players, that's all one way. Like I can't deny, no one can deny the production value from a Peloton class, but the coach doesn't see you. And so that dopamine rush of acknowledgement that people get when they're working really hard in a group fitness environment and the coach celebrates the hard work that you're doing, that's everything to us. And combining that with people seeing real results and providing excellent customer service through your fitness journey, those are the three uniques that we're working every day to deliver on. So we raised a little bit of money in January because of the traction that we had developed. In February, we spent a decent chunk on paid media, weren't seeing the return that we were looking for. We scaled down, and this was the first time in my career that I had to like do this, and it was humbling, but also really exciting learning experience. And what we've done is kind of taken a page out of the playbook of some old school sales guys, or what I can imagine. Like we're getting super analog, getting people to consent by giving us their name and their email through a couple different channels, and then we are calling them, we're emailing them, we're trying to get on the phone, we're just trying to create a white glove service where we can talk to these people. In hindsight, Orange Theory is an incredibly successful business. They have hundreds of franchises domestically and globally. To this day, if you go to any Orange Theory studio, you go in there, chances are you're going to see a sales associate who's on the phone, like just hitting the phones, talking to people. Orange Theory doesn't make their money from Facebook ads. They make their money from humans calling and reaching out to other humans to try and get them into a class. And that's still really, really, I mean, Peloton, the majority of their acquisitions coming from referral or word of mouth. So this isn't unique in the sense we just thought we could be different out of the gate, and we're pivoting and we're getting better.
Well, let me ask you a question, because I think you can probably take the gym approach, right? Like the actual going to a gym and working out approach, right? Like, I don't know if you've tried this before, but even I'll give you a different example. Kevin's kids used to go to karate, right? And what they would do is they would allow you to have like free parties, and then they would just try to sell everybody at the party, right? So like, have you guys tried to like do free classes and then like at the class have someone try to sell the people, like give them that experience, like give them the interaction, and then try to sell them? Because that seems to me that like that's like a no-brainer.
So I love that idea, and we have.
I'll send you the bill.
Yes, please. So I'll answer that in two ways. One, we just actually turned off free trial ads that we were promoting because the ROAS was negative. What we did find is that if we promote specific classes, but where you have to pay, we actually saw a better return. So the more specific you can be with the offering, which I think kind of goes back to the anomaly with Swoveralls. Like Swoveralls, when you see Swoveralls, you either are falling in love or you're like really upset for some reason about that this thing exists. And it's eliciting an emotion in and of itself. Selling a group fitness class isn't eliciting an emotion, but the more specific we can get, like in the copy saying, do you want to become the best runner ever? Like, is it time for you to like lose 10 pounds? Like creating an emotion some way could be really, really powerful. Part of what also makes Sweat from Home different is our give back model. Swoveralls is a member of 1% for the Planet. We've done a lot of nonprofit collaborations. I'm one of those typical millennials where I like want to, be granola and save the world as well. And everything's sustainable and organic. And I love all that stuff. And I brought that kind of brand ethos over to Sweat from Home as well. We offer one class every week that is completely free. It's called a Community Sweat. If you want to pay, 100% of the proceeds go to nonprofits that we work with. So the digital version of the karate gym is happening every Sunday at 12 p.m. Anyone can come through because we want to democratize what a premium boutique fitness experience can be like. I mean, my co-founders and myself and the 9 other coaches that we have all taught at the best gyms in the world. And now people can access us from wherever they are. And so once a week, we want to make that free to whoever would like to come and check it out.
Yeah, Kyle, I am a like copy fanatic. Like I have
It's so important. It's so important.
$150 book sitting back here. The what the hell is it? I forgot what it was called. By Eugene Schwartz. Have you read that?
No.
I got it right here. So this book right here, Breakthrough Advertising, is $150. And then Expert Secrets from, are you familiar with Russell Brunson?
No.
Oh my God.
I'm writing these both down.
Dude, you got to get into Russell's world.
Traffic Secrets.
Expert Secrets, Traffic Secrets, ClickFunnels. Never heard of ClickFunnels?
Yeah, the concept, but not, is there a book?
Yeah, Expert Secrets is all about like copy like storytelling and that kind of thing. And same thing with this. If you can get your hands on this, Brian Kurtz is the only guy who can sell this thing. And like on Amazon, it's like $900, but from him, it's 150. He bought the rights. He bought the rights to it. And basically the gist of the thing is like, cause I'm just thinking about this as you talk about what you're doing. And, you know, I don't know what your copy is like, but it sounds like you're talking about facts, right? And like stories sell, facts tell, right? So I don't know what your back end looks like and that kind of stuff, but I can imagine that, you know, I can hear it just in your voice, like how much you love your product, but maybe like you're not communicating that through stories well enough.
Yeah.
Because you just like, you wanted to backtrack to tell us how great it was because it was different than everybody else. But like everybody thinks that their product is the best. Everybody thinks that like, you know, I don't have to convince you that your product is the best. You have to convince me that it's better, that it's different. And facts, as I say, tell, stories sell. So maybe want to look into that. And these books right here, man, these are like both $100 million companies using copy. So
yeah, even telling the story that you're telling us, I mean, it has an impact. It creates an emotion for us. You know, you telling us how it's a personalized experience that you've built through your Orange therapy. Is that what it is?
Orange Theory.
Orange. I've seen that place too. I got them all around. I never knew what they were, but through the Orange Theory experience that you had, you know, telling those stories through email could be really effective. And I think as far as like the free work, I think it's cool that you do like the community, but I think it's like another one of those things, or the community day that you do on Saturdays. Do you say Saturdays or Sundays? What day was it? Sundays.
Yeah.
It's like when it seemed, and we've seen it with other experiences that we've had, is like when you give away something for free, people don't necessarily feel like they need to do it. You know,
right. The more you pay, the more you pay attention is what he says. Like, the more you pay, but yeah, anyway,
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, the more you pay, the more you'll pay attention, and is basically what they say. So, yeah.
I wanted to go ahead, Joe.
Oh, I just I mean, thank you, Jason, for the book recommendations. I wrote those down. It's been, yeah, I'm just so fortunate for being able to have these types of conversations and learn, and also, it's also humbling because the success that I had with Swoveralls from a digital marketing standpoint made me think that I knew what I was doing, you know, but only with sweatpant overalls. I only know how to sell sweatpant overalls through Facebook, but once you change the product or the service, everything changes. So it's been a really humbling and great learning experience.
Yeah. I mean, there's you know, and it's also become, you know, you should know this. It's like the psyche of the person you're selling to, right? Like, you know, you don't have to do any work when you buy Swoveralls. I mean, you just buy them and then like you just put them on. But like when you're asking me, like, I got to like do work, it's like a whole different game, right? So, you know, that's where you got to hit that emotion. That's where you got to hit the storytelling, and that's where you got to do all that stuff. But, you know, I love this. And, you know, when you asked us when we first got on, what do you think about the Swoveralls? And like, I was like, yeah, you know, I don't wear them, but like, the more I talk to you, like I'm starting to like them. I'm like, shit, maybe I should go buy them.
Well, that's how I originally found you. I don't know where it was. It was probably on Facebook or something. I thought they were really cool. They looked comfy. I didn't see you on Shark Tank. You were on Shark Tank, and we could talk about that in a minute. But we
only got like 5 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was on your email list, and I got an email one day, and I'm like, I just forwarded it over to our producer. I was like, I've been following this guy for a while. And I was always thinking, I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to buy those. Those look super comfy. So they're definitely super cool looking. But to go, I think that it's kind of like a mind fuck a little bit too. And it has been for us as far as the agency and working with clients and physical products. When you bust your ass for 4 years with the inventory and working with China and developing new products, when you have this concept and this business that's working, and that's a digital product, it's like, this is it. Like I don't have to deal with inventory anymore. This is where I was led the entire time to be.
Yeah, we had 2 million, and our profit was $1 million, right?
Didn't have to speak to any clients.
Right. We
didn't have to have any products, which is something we're talking about, is possibly having products, but it's like a dream. It's like the thing just runs. I mean, I know you have like you have workout people, you have people you have to think about there, but no products, everything's online. It's amazing.
It's beautiful. And I mean, to your point about it being more service led, I mean, there's always, the 80-20 rule, or 20, 20% of the people or 20% of the issues take up 80% of your time. 80% of the revenue comes from 20% of the classes or the people. Yeah. So
Product,
however
right.
way you want to look at it. Yeah. There's always something, but having it being a service-based business and not having to worry about freight coming across on a boat is definitely a little nicer.
It is, and it's more profitable. Like,
Yeah.
we the company I was telling you about that we helped go from 1.5 to 10 million in 2 years. Like, they're just profitable now by like they're just profitable. I mean, at the 10 million mark, right? It's like crazy to think that
Crazy.
like Kevin and I started this business with someone a year ago. We did 2 million the first year, and 1 million of that was profit, like for just like 3 schmucks. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's crazy to think, and I think you have to go into the physical side because you just love your product. It's, I think it's going to be it's a little harder to make the kind of money that I think you think you're going to make when you first get into it. It's definitely it's probably more fun too, a physical product compared to like a digital product, right? A little bit more, probably a little more fun doing it.
I mean, yeah, Swoveralls are just it's definitely not like selling a hat, although we have hats, but they don't sell anywhere near like Swoveralls. Yeah, it's been, it's a blast, but I think we could have a lot of fun in just selling the experience of sweat from home. And that's, to your point, Jason, I don't know if that's something that we're doing as well as we could right now. And that's where we kind of got to go back to the drawing board and see how we can not only iterate on the copy, but also on the creative and just the emotions that we're trying to elicit.
Yeah, I mean, and I know we're running out of time here, and like I told you before, we can talk for another like 3 hours about this. But
yeah,
I don't know. For me, I look at it like a play. Like, you get somebody on your email list, and then you start telling stories about like busy moms, busy dads, like how they couldn't find time to work out, they couldn't go to the gym, so and then like how you guys help them do that from home, and then you can start talking about all the cool little things you're talking about. But none of that shit really matters to me. I want to know, like, how am I going to work out with 2 kids? I'm in a pandemic. That to me is much more important than like the cool little things that you're talking about. And I'm not trying to call you out. I'm just saying, like, this is kind of like how I would imagine it went, because I think I would connect with that a little bit more. I love all the features, all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day,
what about workout Swoveralls? Can you work out in your Swoveralls?
There you go.
I wouldn't recommend it. We don't have the moisture wicking line out yet, but you technically could.
I know we're running out of time, man. And man, I wish we could keep going, and it'd be awesome to have you back. You can probably tell that I'm the scatterbrain of this podcast. Kevin is a little bit more structured. I kind of derail things quite often, but I love learning. I love talking to people that have been through the journey. And you definitely have. So well, yeah, man, it was awesome. I'm sorry that that we get all over the place, but this is kind of what we do,
Yeah, definitely love to have you back on again. Hear more about Sweat from Home and see where that's at, and who knows, 6 months from now. I see that being huge. I mean, I want to show my wife about it. I looked at it this morning, and I think it's a really cool, like, kind of like a la carte thing. You just go on and you buy whatever time you want. It's really cool.
Right, moms are home with their kids. They got no time to do anything. I don't know, there's something there, man.
Yeah, I thank you both so much, guys, for having me on. It was definitely fun to jam and talk about these things. I'll let the listeners speak and dictate. I'd love to come on again. It'd be fun to update both of you and the listeners on what happens with Swoveralls. We have a lot of exciting things coming out, like dog Swoveralls are coming out soon.
Wow, we just had somebody on about that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, dog clothing was our last interview, actually.
Yep.
Dogthreads.com.
Oh, really? Really? I'd love to speak with them, because it's I don't know what the heck we're doing, but we're going to do a pre-order campaign. And yeah, Sweat from Home, we have incredibly ambitious plans, and it'd be really cool to update both of you and everyone on where we're at.
Yeah, just tell everyone real quick before you go where they can find all your stuff.
Sure. Yeah. So if you want to get incredibly comfy, swoveralls.com, swoveralls.com. You can follow us on Instagram at swoveralls_. And then if you're looking for an amazing workout from wherever you are, with a coach that actually sees you, in a fun, feel good community, Sweat from Home, sweatfh.com. on Instagram at sweat.fh.
Very cool.
Awesome, man.
Thank you so much, Kyle.
Thank you guys.
Again, a really nice guy, really great person to just stay in touch with.
You probably already liked him on Facebook. I already know that. Yeah.
No, I didn't.
You didn't send him a friend request yet?
No, not yet. I was gonna do it like right after we got off with him. But then I was like, he's 33. He's probably gonna think I'm a nerd if I friend him on Facebook. You know, that's not like a thing anymore for a guy who's 33.
You think you're a nerd or an old man?
You're an old man, right? Exactly.
So.
I did actually. You're such an ass because I did think of that. I was like,
I know you did. I know exactly.
But I like doing it. Like I feel like your relationship with Ryan McKenzie, like all the time. You could message each other, but I just felt like
he sent me a message yesterday. He's like, "Oh, I've been thinking about you," and then like with him, it's like he'll just engage with you, dude, for hours. Like I almost have to like anyway. But he's awesome. I really like having people on this podcast, man. It's nice meeting people. Every once in a while you meet someone that you just kind of keep in touch with, which is nice. And I think he's going to be another guy, even though he's 10 years younger than us. I still think he's like one of them kind of guys. So
yeah, but I wanted to make sure he thought I was still cool and not.
But you're not cool. There is nothing about you that is.
I was
cool.
thinking, maybe he's on Instagram. Maybe I could follow him on Instagram.
Yeah, whatever.
TikTok. I'll follow him on TikTok. There's really not like Facebook is still like the personal connection. Like Instagram is like you just follow people, or Twitter you follow people. TikTok
on Twitter, yeah,
Twiddle. I feel like Facebook is still that social interaction. It's like one-sided on all the other ones. Anyway.
Right. All right, guys, go to ecommerceuncensored.com/truth and sign up for the Facebook course. I promise you will not be disappointed. This course teaches you everything you will ever need to know about Facebook, and it teaches you stuff that'll never change. You can use it on any platform, Pinterest, YouTube, whatever.
Yeah, we look forward to seeing you guys in there. And as always, this has been episode, I said that backwards. This has been episode number 211. And as always, you can check us out at ecommerceuncensored.com. And we'll talk to you guys real soon.
Later.